Consumer behavior is a study of how individual customers, groups, or organizations select, buy, use, and dispose ideas, goods, and services to satisfy their needs and wants. Utility is power of a commodity to satisfy human wants. It varies with persons and time. The amount of satisfaction a person derives from a commodity at a particular place and at a particular time period and places. For example, some people like cold drink while others do not like same way. Utility is different from usefulness. A commodity may not be useful. It may have utility for some people. For example, liquor is harmful for health. It may have high utility for alcoholic. Further, utility has no moral or legal significance. It is ethically neutral. Difference between cardinal utility and ordinal utility. Cardinal utility. It explains that the satisfaction level after consuming any goods or services can be scaled in terms of countable numbers. Example, pizza gives Sam 60 utils of satisfaction, whereas burger gives him only 40 utils. Ordinal utility. It explains that the satisfaction level after consuming any goods or services cannot be scaled in numbers. However, these things can be arranged in the order of preference. Example, Sam gets more satisfaction from a pizza as compared to that of a burger. Cardinal utility. Utility is measured based on utils. It is less practical. This theory was applied by Professor Marshall. Ordinal utility. Utility is ranked based on satisfaction. It is more practical and sensible. This theory was applied by Professor J. R. Hicks. Law of diminishing utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility holds that as we consume more of an item, the amount of satisfaction produced by each additional unit of that good declines. The change in utility gained from utilizing an additional unit of a product is known as marginal utility. John, for example, is starving and hasn't consumed anything for a while. When he eventually starts to consume, the very first piece will provide him with a considerable measure of satisfaction. As he continues to eat even more meals, his hunger will wane to the extent that he no longer wants to eat. Explanation for the law of diminishing marginal utility. We can briefly explain Marshall's theory with the help of an example. Assume that a consumer consumes 6 apples one after another. The first apple gives him 20 utils, units for measuring utility. When he consumes the second and third apple, the marginal utility of each additional apple will be lesser. This is because with an increase in the consumption of apples, his desire to consume more apples falls. The total utility obtained from the first apple is 20 util, which keep on increasing until we reach our saturation point at fifth apple. On the other hand, marginal utility keeps on diminishing with every additional apple consumed. When we consume the sixth apple, we have gone over the limit. Hence, the marginal utility is negative and the total utility falls. Saturation point. The point where the desire to consume the same product anymore becomes zero. Disutility. If you still consume the product after the saturation point, the total utility starts to fall. This is known as disutility. Assumptions of the law. Units of commodities consumed should be identical or homogeneous. Units should be consumed in quick succession with minimal breaks in between. Units should be of a standard size, that is, neither too big nor too small. The taste of consumers should be constant. There should be no change in the price of substitute goods. The utility is measurable. The consumer is rational while making consumption decisions. Exceptions or limitations. The law does not hold well in the rare collections. For example, collection of ancient coins, stamps, etc. The law is not fully applicable to money. The marginal utility of money declines with richness but never falls to zero. It does not apply to the knowledge, art, and innovations. The law is not applicable for precious goods. Historical things are also included in exceptions to the law. Law does not operate if consumer behaves in a rational manner. For example, drunkard is said to enjoy each successive peg more than the previous one. Importance of the law of diminishing marginal utility. By purchasing more of a commodity, the marginal utility decreases. Due to this behavior, the consumer cuts his expenditures to that commodity. In the field of public finance, this law has a practical application, imposing a heavier burden on the rich people. This law is the basis of some other economic laws, such as law of demand, elasticity of demand, consumer surplus, and the law of substitution, etc. The value of commodity falls by increasing the supply of commodity. It forms a basis of theory of value. In this way, prices are determined